I've been holding off on saying this for a few days, not because I wasn't sure what I wanted to say, but rather because I wanted to be positive before I spoke. I went over everything again, including the quotes, the video, the transcripts of the press conference, the precise words Todd Monken used to speak to reporters, and the actual order of events during those 3 days of voluntary minicamp. And after carefully examining everything, I discovered something that, in my opinion, everyone following this Cleveland situation should hear expressed clearly. There is a difference between what is truly taking place inside that building and what is being reported about this quarterback competition. For weeks, they haven't been the same. And the discrepancy between those two versions has gotten so big that someone needs to carefully go over it, piece by piece, and explain exactly where the reporting deviated from reality, and why that discrepancy is crucial to what Cleveland is truly attempting to build. Nothing else makes sense without the foundation, so start there. In April, the Browns organized a 3-day voluntary veteran minicamp. 3 days are optional. There are no defensive backs pressing receivers through actual coverage, no pads, no live pass rush, and no competitive weight associated with a single snap. The NFL establishes this particular window, a brief orientation period, when a team hires a new head coach. During this time, the staff installs terminology, establishes a philosophical foundation, and starts developing a common operational language between coaches and a roster. I'm still getting to know this staff member's mindset. That's the whole point. Not assessment, not competition, not orientation. After those sessions, Todd Monken stood in front of reporters and said just that. He claimed to have witnessed a 40,000-foot view. He was open and honest. He was telling everyone in the room not to project too much onto any of it in the simplest language possible. After that, the coverage took place. In any case, I'm making every effort to compile as much information as I can and provide it to you. Please leave your likes and comments if you're as passionate about the Browns as I am. I am convinced that this year we will be performing at the Super Bowl. Additionally, I would be grateful if you subscribed. Let's go on. The takes were completed and circulating in a matter of hours. The room had been taken over by Deshaun Watson. The veteran had a commanding, determined, and forward-thinking appearance. Shedeur Sanders was lagging behind one outlet, and this is the one that I genuinely can't stop thinking about. It's possible that Sheer won't even hold the backup position. A depth chart string's third string. That concept gained traction following 72 hours of walkthrough sessions in helmets and shorts during a voluntary spring practice. It became louder, platform to platform, show to show. The overwhelming amount of repetition began to do what repetition in sports media always does. It began to establish its own legitimacy. Individuals who had not yet developed an opinion had heard it enough times for it to start to feel like a consensus. And each time I go through this sequence, I keep coming back to the same question. What is the real proof that supports any of this? What did Monken say that led to these findings? Because this is what he truly said. Not the headline version, not the condensed version that suited the preconceived narrative, the actual content of what he said while facing reporters. He claimed that during those 3 days, Shedeur received more repetitions overall thanks to the practice script. He clarified that some practice windows were purposefully set up around run game work, and that, regardless of who is taking them, run-heavy periods inevitably compress meaningful quarterback snaps, giving the appearance of imbalance that did not accurately represent the distribution of quarterback work. According to him, Shedeur started the 11-on-11 team drills. He went on to say that the rotation would change daily, and that the order of a single session should not be used to draw any competitive conclusions. I want the weight of that gap to be felt by you. On camera, the Cleveland Browns head coach explains the distribution of reps, contextualizes the visual optics, and informs the audience that Shedeur led the team during team drills. And the narrative that came out of that same press conference featured Shedeur finding it difficult to keep up with Watson's assertive veteran dominance. Analytical interpretation is not different in that regard. It is a choice of which facts are included in the story and which are discreetly left on the floor of the press conference. And it wasn't an accidental choice. Let me now take you to Miami, because I keep coming back to this specific point in Shedeur's offseason, and I don't think it has gotten even a small portion of the attention it merits. Before the cameras, before the content cycle, Before anyone had planned an excuse to watch, he was down there performing invisible private training work. Just an unglamorous quarterback working early in the morning. This repetitive work, which either occurs or does not occur during the hours when attendance is solely dependent on personal commitment, is not being filmed. He was discovered by a content producer, a streamer who wants to record Shedeur's throwing routes in order to create something that can be shared, spread online, and create the kind of positive narrative momentum that young athletes in his position truly need at the moment. And Shedeur declined, not in an impolite or contemptuous manner, but with a clarity that revealed his true motivations. In essence, he said, "You need to understand what a football represents when you see it in my hands. There will be a minicamp soon. There will soon be a training camp. I have a job to earn and a competition ahead of me that I can't afford to treat carelessly even for one day. When that's finished, come back. The cost of that choice is real, and I want you to feel it in this particular moment." He is up against a quarterback who owes his team $46 million. Money that remains stationary. Money that doesn't change in response to a depth chart. I would characterize the result of that financial commitment as organizational gravity. It creates institutional pressure to find a way to validate the money that has already been spent and to make the investment appear justified. Every day, Shedeur operates within that gravitational pull, even when the on-field evidence suggests otherwise. He senses it. It is apparent to anyone inside that building who is paying close attention. Additionally, he sends the content creator away and returns to his footwork during an off-season when he sorely needs positive narrative momentum, visibility, and every story working in his favor. When no one is observing or grading it, that is what true competitive seriousness looks like. And whether a quarterback performs when everything is real or only when the conditions are comfortable depends on that quality that is consistently maintained under precisely that kind of pressure. Josh Cribbs made statements regarding this matter that warranted much more serious attention than they got. Additionally, the way he frames his remarks is crucial, so I want to devote real time to this. He recognized Josh Cribbs in this particular situation. Not a well-known figure on television who needs to fill airtime. Not a voice stirring up controversy to expand the platform. One of the most genuinely adored characters in Cleveland Browns football's modern history. A man who, over the course of his career, physically gave that city everything. Who, after years of genuine sacrifice, earned the right to be heard. Whose credibility with actual Cleveland supporters is the kind that never wanes because it was never created in the first place. You treat people with that status with the respect they deserve when they make uncomfortable remarks about the franchise's direction. They are more than just another popular opinion. Cribb's statement was straightforward. He wants Shedeur Sanders to be given an honest assessment, not one that is controlled or where organizational decisions have already been influenced by unseen financial factors. An actual assessment based on competitive data collected in actual circumstances. Circumstances that he never once experienced during his first professional season. Furthermore, to say that the first season was challenging would be an understatement, given what it actually entailed. Shedeur played for a team that was in structural disarray, with an offensive line that was unable to protect him consistently, and a receiving room that was lacking in ways that made his job extremely difficult. And he performed at a level that earned him Pro Bowl recognition from the players and coaches who actually witnessed him perform in 7 starts under those circumstances. It was a conscious collective assessment by professional football fans that what they were witnessing from a rookie in a dysfunctional setting was truly amazing, not a vote of sympathy. Even so, he is constantly portrayed in the media as the issue, the person whose family is a distraction, the one who asks questions. Deshaun Watson, on the other hand, is portrayed as the misunderstood veteran whose best football is just waiting for the right system to unlock it. Watson has been out of meaningful NFL football for almost 2 full years, has 2 Achilles ruptures, and has one of the most complicated recent histories at the position in the league. Take a close look at that disparity and consider whose interests it serves. More than anything else in this discussion, Cribb's reference to Baker Mayfield struck a chord. It was definitely intended to hit that hard. He didn't mention that name lightly. Specifically in Cleveland, he dropped it loaded with everything it could carry. All the burden, all the suffering, and all the difficult realization of what that franchise allowed to leave before it had the opportunity to demonstrate its true nature. Mayfield was ejected. The patience of the organization ran out. The story began to work against him. After that, he went to a place that supported him, and he went on to win a Super Bowl ring. Cribbs was posing an almost brutally honest question to Cleveland. Are you going to play this again? Will you allow the $46 million sunk cost pressure that has already been committed? The institutional need to defend the most costly choice in franchise history. The sound. The assured proclamations. The recurrence of a decision made prior to the availability of evidence. Will you allow all of that to cost you something genuine before it has had a chance to demonstrate its true nature? That is not engaging rhetoric. That is the key question that will determine what Cleveland develops going forward. The financial case for putting Watson at the center of this competition is frequently made, and since the reasoning seems plausible on the surface, I want to address it openly. Depth chart decisions do not cause the $46 million to vanish. Regardless of who begins in September, it is committed. Thus, the framing is effective. Why not give him every chance to prove his worth if you are paying him regardless? I get the math, but this is what that argument keeps refusing to accept. Every picture that Watson takes is one that Sanders does not. Quarterback development is not a savings account. The reps cannot be postponed, held in reserve, and redeemed at a later time. At a particular stage in his development arc, a quarterback develops through the accumulation of specific repetitions under specific competitive pressure and the application of specific coaching attention. It's not a permanent window. There is no budget line that accounts for the true cost of focusing this competition on Watson's contract. The trajectory of the quarterback, who is expected to symbolize this team's future, serves as a gauge. That expense does not show up on any spreadsheet, which may be the reason why those who are most at ease with their analysis continue to ignore it when it is presented with figures they can cite. Since the third-string projection is unquestionably the most analytically careless claim in this entire coverage cycle, it merits direct and straightforward discussion. The visual impression of 3 days of voluntary minicamp practice without pads, without live competition, and without any of the pressure conditions that produce evaluation worth trusting is nearly the only basis for the conclusion that Shedeur might not hold the backup spot. After 3 days, the head coach stated publicly that he had not selected a starter and that he would not be making competitive judgments based on an April voluntary session in which Shedeur won first place in team drills and the rep distribution favored him overall. There was such information. Every reporter in the room had public access to it, and some voices continued to confidently project third strings using the same set of evidence. That conclusion did not naturally flow from the observations. That is a conclusion that was reached prior to the observation, and then searched for any configuration of pieces that might resemble logic. All of this raises a schematic football question that is hardly ever given any serious analytical attention, and I find it truly perplexing that this question is neglected. In Baltimore, Monken built one of the league's most potent offenses. Lamar Jackson, one of the most exceptional athletic weapons the quarterback position has ever produced, served as the load-bearing framework for everything he constructed there. On every snap, a player's legs essentially rearranged every defensive calculation. Take a look at the competitors in Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders is a self-sufficient individual. Timing, precision, structural accuracy, quick coverage processing, and clean delivery within a system built around those attributes are the cornerstones of his game. When Watson was at his peak in Houston, he was a dual-threat quarterback whose pivotal plays required his legs to alter the math of down after down. The real football question is whether Sanders is a better schematic fit for what this coaching staff is building, if Monken is building an offense in Cleveland that prioritizes pocket efficiency, timing, and system accuracy at its operational center. Everything about his offensive history indicates that this is exactly what he does when he has a true pocket passer available. The question is not being given the attention it merits, and the reason it isn't, in my opinion, is that providing an honest response would complicate the story that has already been constructed and marketed. The final point made by Cribb that I would like to revisit is the observation that was largely overlooked, and I believe it may be the most crucial point made regarding this whole circumstance. He discussed Cleveland's upcoming stadium. With the Watson chapter starting its gradual decline into franchise history, the Browns have a genuine chance to enter a new building with a new identity, a new face, and a new narrative that represents what is being built rather than what has already fallen apart. A new building should have a compelling backstory, and that is already present in the tale of Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback who entered the draft, was publicly disrespected in ways that were visible and documented, joined a team that wasn't structurally ready to develop him, and played in 7 games under circumstances that would have broken many young players who would have made the Pro Bowl anyhow. Who turned down content creators during his offseason while working covertly in Miami because he had more pressing matters to attend to. Who showed up to voluntary minicamp, took first-team reps in 11-on-11 drills, and then watched the coverage declare the competition all but settled before a single real snap had been taken. New stadiums are filled with the resonance of that arc. Not just attendance figures, but sincere belief, the kind that endures through challenging times because it is based on something tangible that people have seen with their own eyes. However, Cleveland only comes to that conclusion by making choices based on the results of competitive evidence, rather than the emotional demands of $46 million already spent. OTAAS has not yet been reached by the competition. The pads are still in place. No one has been subjected to actual pressure with actual repercussions. Every statement that has been made, every decision that has been made, and every self-assured forecast that has gained enough traction to start passing as consensus have all resulted from circumstances that the head coach himself referred to as a first look. We discover what is truly here when the setting becomes authentic. The huddle takes on real weight. The stadium is packed, and the situation requires every resource a quarterback possesses. Don't let 3 days in April write this story before the story has begun, as everything I've watched closely and honestly considered indicates that the conclusion will be very different from the versions that some people have been putting a lot of effort into. And before anyone calls, Cleveland fans, more than any other professional football fan base, deserve to see that true conclusion.